So we've learned if there's a right triangle, we can do the Pythagorean theorem or sine, cosine, tan. Let me zoom that in a little bit, okay? We've learned that if it's not a right triangle, so if it's not a right triangle, we've learned that as long as there is a, let's say x and y, as long as there is a match, I can do the law of sines, okay? So dot, dot, dot. How is today different? Well, today is different because this doesn't match. This doesn't match. This doesn't match. So if there is no match, okay, you're going to have to do the law of sines. If there's no match, you're going to have to do the law of sines. And you're going to use this fun formula. And you're going to be like, oh man, I hope there's a match because this is a pain in the tush. Yeah, I agree. You'll be fine now. Okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to find the missing sides and the angles. It doesn't matter what you want to find first. You want to find a side first? Great. You want to find an angle first? Great. I think it's easiest for me to find the side first. Now, whatever you find, you want that to be what ends up being your outside. And some of you go, which side is C? Whatever side or angle you want to be C. So I'm going to decide I want to find this first. So if I decide I'm going to find this first, that will go on the outside. Okay? Now I know that there is a match here, and that is the angle. Okay? So I'm going to go like this. I don't know that side, so I'm going to call this C squared. Now I can make A or B whatever I want it to be, because when you add 14 plus 20, or you add 20 plus 14, it's the same thing. So I'll make this A squared plus this B squared minus 2 times A times B cosine. Remember what that means when you're with cosine or you're with sine. There's always an angle that comes after it, and that's cosine of 60. So what I want you to see, no pun intended, is that what you're trying to find has to be on the outside. Okay? Now I'm going to simplify this hot mess. So C squared, I'm going to keep it. I pick up my calculator and I go 14 squared. Pick up my calculator and I go 20 squared. I add those up and that's 596. So the first thing I do, and I'm doing this because I know you're going to mess up if you don't organize it like that. All of that equal to that. Now what I do is I multiply all of this. 2 times 14 is 28, 560. And I'm going to take all of this, and I'm going to put that in my calculator in degree mode. Okay, so I've got a little simple calculator, and I think there's an FD here which tells me, oh no, that's fraction to decimal. Okay, there we go, it's in degree mode. All right, so I'm going to go 560 cosine of 60, and I get 280. Okay, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put 280. All of this gave me 280. Now I'm going to go 596 minus 280, and I get 316. Now I have the C squared. How do I get rid of a squared? Square root. C equals, so I second square root of what did I say it was? 316. And I get 17. I want you to round to the nearest hundredth. 17.78. So now, 17.78. Okay? So I found that side. Am I done? No. Now I've got to find these angles. So you have a choice. You can do this law of cosines again. Or you can go, I'm out. I see there is a match. And as soon as there's a match, I don't have to do the law of cosines anymore. Now I can go back to the previous section because there's a match and do my law of sines. So for me, I don't want to do the law of cosines again. It took up too much space, and it's a lot of work. So I'm going to do my match, and you have to decide what you're going to pick. So I'm going to do this angle right here. Okay? So I'm going to put my match down, sine of 60 over 17.78 equals, sorry. And I decide I'm going to do this angle. Well, if I'm going to do this angle, sine of x, this color's messy. Okay? If I decide I'm going to do that angle, who does it match with? This side. Now what do? Multiply what touches. How do I solve? Divide by 17.78. I'm going to put that in the calculator. Give me a second. So I took this, the 20 times 60, and I put it in there, and I got 0.97. I made sure it was in degree mode, and it is, so it's 0.97. So now I'm left with sine of x equals 0.97. Now, do I divide by sine? No, you can't divide by sine, because your calculator, if you went 0.97 divided by sine, and look at, see how it's still, you can't see that, but see how it still has that little thing? It's like sine of what? You can't do that. So what do? You do the inverse sine. So you come over here, you go inverse sine of 0.97, and you get 75.93. So x equals 75.93 degrees. Okay, now I know it's messy, I'm sorry. This is 75.93 degrees. Am I done? Side, 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 angle, angle. How do I get that last angle? If I want to get this last angle, I go 180 minus 60 plus 75.93. So I'll do that right now. 60 plus 75.93. Did I do that right? Yeah. Minus 180, and I get 44.07. So now I know this is 44.07 degrees. I have found all the angles. I have found all the sides. Okay? All right. So, that was a lot. We'll do, of course, practice in class. So, they want to know, decide which method you could use. Could I use the Pythagorean theorem? No, because it's not a right triangle. Could I use 45, 45, 90? No, because it's not a right triangle. Can I use 30, 60, 90? No, it's not a right triangle. Can I use sine, cosine, tan? No, it's not a right triangle. Can I use law of sines? Let's see, that goes with that. No, not a match. It would be a match if I knew the number. This goes with that, so that doesn't match. This goes with that, not a match. So no, because there's not a match. So what would I have to do? I have to do the law of sines. Yes. Okay, so let's say I wanted to find that. So let's do this one together. So this is what goes on the outside. So based on the formula, x squared equals 6 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 6 times 7 cosine of 120. What do you do? 6 squared.
ECG break.
What do you do?
You need to take your temperature every day when you
square. Multiply this.
Stay home
84.
Free from symptoms. Be responsible, be respectful, and be brave.
Take this, put it in the calculator. Take this, put it in the calculator, and subtract them. So that'd be 85. Let me do this one. 84 cosine 20, and that's negative 42. So you want to be careful. Let's make sure it's in the right mode. It is. Okay? Two negatives make a positive. That would be 127. And by the way, I could have made a mistake. I'm going a little bit fast. Square root, square root. The square root of 127 is 11.27. So now this is 11.27. So I found the side, the side, the side. So side, 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 done, done, done. I found one of the angles, but I still have to find the other two. How could I find the other two? Well, I could now do the law of sines because there's a match. And then I could use the 6 to find this angle because this opens up to it. It opens up to it. Sine x, dot, dot, dot. Get my x, which is a degree. Then take that answer and go 180 minus this, plus 120, and then that would be the third angle. Okay? Don't worry, we're reviewing in class. Okay, so now we have several tools, and now we've got to go through and figure out which tool we're going to use. Okay? I like this idea for the quiz. Interesting. Okay. So now we're going to decide which tool to use. All right. So is it a right triangle? No. So since it's not a right triangle, I only have the law of sines or the law of cosines. I know if it's the law of sines, there's a match. Let's see. That goes with that. No. That goes with that. Ah! There's a match. Okay? So I can do the law of sines, which is this equals this. I don't want to do it right now. You get the idea. Okay? This one, oh, it is a right triangle. So now I've got to go through and figure out which one of these I'm going to use. And some of you go, Pythagorean theorem. Yeah, you can use the Pythagorean theorem only if all you need are sides. But if you look here, they don't want the third side. They want the angle. So you cannot use the Pythagorean theorem. Can you use a 45, 45? You don't even know how many degrees the angles are. So you can't use the 45, 45, 90. You can't use the 30, 60, 90. Okay? So you're either going to have to use sine, cosine, or tan. Well, remember, if you have the long side, it's sine or cosine. Well, you don't have the long side. So you know automatically it's tan. And tan is opposite over adjacent. How would you solve this? Well, you know, do the inverse tan. Make sure it's in the right mode, and then you get your degrees. So I'll do that right now so you can see. Inverse tan, inverse tan. Okay, let's try third time's the charm. Yep. 5 divided by 9, round to the nearest hundredth, 29.05 degrees. Okay, so that means this is 29.05. Could you find this? Yeah. Go 90 minus that, and you get the answer. All right, letter C. For letter C, can I do any of these? No, because it's not a right triangle. So that means it's either the law of sines or the law of cosines. Let's see if there's a match. This goes with that. This goes with that. No. And this opens up to that. So if there is not a match, I have to do the law of cosines. Okay? All right. Let's go over the homework here in the last couple minutes so you make sure you're good. So they want you to solve for x. You're going to have to decide which one of these methods, and you're going to have to actually do it. This one, you figure it out. You can read, okay? You figure out what to do. It looks like they want you to use the cosine ratio. This one, they want you to solve it. You can use decimals to help you. Remember, if it's an inequality, you are going to see some shading. Okay? I know it says do it in class, but you can just do this in decimals. Okay, you'll be fine. This one is a word problem. I want you to try the word problem yourself. There is homework help. This one, you can use decimals to help you if you're stuck. These, you know how to find, is this finding the inverse? Yep, find the inverse. Do the opposite. And then they also, nope, I think we're good. And that's it.